Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.co's daily brief. I'm going to try and get a little more comfortable working with the live stream. I will keep an eye out to see whether anybody actually pops in here to watch, but I suppose the only way we're going to get good at this is we just got to keep banging away day after day after day. So I do see that we're recording, and I do see that we have the dashboard up and running, and as well I've included the daily brief request because I really would like to placate you guys in that regard. Placate, that's not the right word. Indulge you guys in that regard. So anyway, let's get on with the show. It's 9 o'clock. Gonna be a little, I'm not a really big fan of this sort of non-interaction, but nonetheless, I actually don't see anybody watching right now, so this is interesting. Kind of just basically just doing it on my own here. So let's take a look at what we got here. Interesting to watch the breadth just sort of seesawing back and forth along the zero line. We did see stocks broke previous highs, basically making a successive pattern of higher highs and higher lows. That stopped us out of a little short position that we had on the stocks off of this top here. On balance, I see stocks are moving higher, but there's also seesawing a bit. This is the end of May. Sell in May and walk away and all those kind of fun things. So we'll see how this plays out. We did go and buy an Apple put option recently. I think Boeing looks really interesting as a short potential. Actually, it was interesting on the scanner this morning. I was just perusing through the list. Nothing really jumped out at me too aggressively, other than I did notice that the oil and oil services companies are just getting destroyed here. So there's just no sign of bottom. It's interesting because OPEC, I was reading this morning, they were announcing they're going to try and adhere to production cuts. But I think the problem here is that that's actually fuel for the fire for Mr. Trump to get the Balkans oil ramped up. So it's actually really interesting to see. This is the fear cycle peak. This is, the best of the commodities markets. And we can clearly see that a lot of these commodity countries, Australia, Canada was, its currency was in the shitter for there quite a while. Really looking beat up. So, it's interesting times we live in, I suppose. Screener-wise, I was really impressed. And of all things, it kind of surprised me. But when I pulled up the screener results, the first stock that jumped out at me off of Sjord's list was this Gannett. Really beautiful little double bottom there, and you can see the algo's trying to turn as well. And I was looking at the price charts. It's a really interesting story. We can buy, in fact, I did a write-up for it. This will be my first experiment. Let's see if I can do screen switching easily here. Let's see what happens. Survey says, yeah, I did it. I looked at this Gannett chart in particular, and you can see that it was, 17, 18 bucks. Brought it down to $7. Really interesting tail they left here. Doji gap, right? They actually came back and filled in the doji gap. Interesting little railroad tracks potentially forming here off the day. This is a weekly price chart too. And then, seeing the signal that Sjord's, I guess, I'm not even quite sure. I actually asked Sjord if he could write out what the actual signaling was. He just calls this a bull scan. But I wouldn't mind knowing what the actual nuts and bolts of what the signal is. I mean, we can clearly see the W here. And as I said, really interesting potential reversal railroad tracks on the weeklies. So if we can actually tick up through Friday's highs, I guess that would be that high there. You can see how it tried to break out there. Really interesting. So, on the options, Brian loves his options. I can buy a January 2018 call, a 750 call for 80 cents to $1 right now. There's the break even on that option, and if the stock goes back and fills in this cute little gap right up there at 38.2, that option's going to be worth $3.84. It's awfully compelling. I mean, I could take like 10 of those, and if only a couple of them work, you're actually a scratch trader. So really interesting stock and interesting results that we got off the algo there. So keeping an eye on that. I did notice algo wise. Whoops, let's see if I can move back the screen now. There we go. Algo wise, was really interested to watch. If you're going to be hunting in the altcoin space, I really don't think it makes sense chasing coins that have gone ripping higher. It's kind of asking for trouble. I did notice some of our sharks were posting that they were getting fills on Nautilus, and I posted the chart through the weekend, I'm very interested. I've got some stink bids working, but you know me, I'm a cheap ass. But anywhere in this area, really interesting looking chart. Let's see, do I have that up here? I thought I had those, I suppose. We can go back to that last chart that we were just on. I have to get a little bit more comfortable with this, and then I'll be flipping back and forth all over the place. Let's see, where is Nautilus? Because we can get it on, and I can't wait till Trex coins are going to be on TradingView. Oh my god, that's going to be so awesome. But yeah, here is the Nautilus chart, so I'll flip back on over there. See if I can do this easily. There we go. And this is a perfect stuff for like the level 1ers in this school, right? I mean, I want you to hunt for these weekly W's, right? And you can see how weekly W's. This one they actually took it to a little bit lower low, but really nice little reversal in here. But nonetheless, pretty weekly W down in here. And then when I was looking at the daily price chart, you can see how it's just come back nicely. There is the ultimate bottom, the bottom. That's when we bought our position last winter. We've been banging out doubles here, and it's just a question of when do we reload. You can see there is the line in the sand. You can see the fight that they're putting up here. So really great sort of combination of leveraging the dashboard and its information, and then popping on over to the charts. Let's see if I can change this again here. Popping on over to the charts and starting to do your TA and looking at levels and stuff. So I thought that was really cool. Little SBD got kind of beat up here recently. A little pissed off about that. That's supposed to be our safe place. That thing's getting fucking ripped. Urgh. Anyway, good reason ever to put too much money into any one coin. Still waiting on Made. I swear that thing's a powder keg. At some point that thing's going to make us a lot of money, but it's not today. You can see Litecoin's still correcting. And actually I think that's probably not a bad dovetail. We can move on here. In that, well, okay, let's finish with the stock market talk. Let's now, just so we finish off looking at the broader market. We had the holiday weekend, so you're probably going to have a lot of sort of position squaring and stuff coming, starting the new week. We had seen, we talked about how we had shorts on the S&Ps working against this high. They were stopped out. Really, that's no big deal to me. It's trade as a trade. So we sit on the sidelines waiting for some sort of new top to develop potentially. You can see the NASDAQ very strong. Amazon just hit its big 1,000 mark. It sort of needed to do that before it could officially finish. But if we look at this simple trend line here, it sure looks to me like resistance could be a bit higher here. I have drawn some pullback levels. Thought it was interesting to see that 38.2 is going to be right against these trend lines. But really just nothing for me to do there. And it's Monday after a long weekend. Probably a good idea just to sort of let the dust settle here a little bit. One thing that I did notice, and I'm a little cross at myself, typical Brian. You can notice that the risk-off assets are actually starting to perk up here a little bit, and I wasn't able to sneak back in cheekily off of my bonds. They rallied right back up to the top of the range. Jerks! We're at the top of value again. I really would like to see a nice W come in here to go and buy back the bond position, but you can see they've taken it right back up to basically where we sold our position before. So V bottom, hopefully we get another test in here. Come on, give me a nice little entry to sneak back in on the long side of the bonds. You can see the Japanese yen's carving out a nice little bull AB equals CD. You know, I could even see it's not really the best bot setup, if you will, because there's only 1 kilo there. But I could see a nice little consolidation pattern. It's going to set up an AB equals CD move up top. The gold, and it was interesting, we saw a number of gold stocks on the screener. Remember, we saw Great Panther and a couple metal proxies. I look at the charts and really I just don't have a trade location. I'm not getting any sort of clear signs from momentum. We're sort of caught in no man's land. We talked about how the gold market is very sawtoothy here, straight up, straight down kind of thing. So I just, you know, and I don't have anything to do here. It's kind of sucks. I know people are like, I want to trade, but I just don't have any setups, which probably takes me to the next conversation that I wanted to have with you guys. We, for this particular term, we sort of committed to the 6 market matrix trading plan, right? We've shown you the trading plan, the log, the ledger. I've been waiting very patiently on Bitcoin to give us some sort of divergence setup here to move on to step 2. Still waiting for that to develop. The interesting thing is the blah stuff up top has left some very interesting levels to hunt trade location. I really do like the idea of hunting trade location for the 6 market matrix on Bitcoin up top here. And really probably going to be watching for bull divergence off of this trend line down here. That's going to be a test of this line here for maybe a potential buy setup. So I've got, you know, 6 market matrix, our trading plan. We were specifically going to follow 6 markets. Been watching them fairly closely. Really haven't had anything specific set up for me here, but I will admit I have been a little bit complacent just over the weekend. But on balance, you know, I'll go through this, especially with the holiday weekend over. We'll go through this and review these markets in earnest. But I didn't see anything really jump out at me. We'll probably look at this through the day a little bit more. We have one bank put option on, and I still like the idea of buying a put, but unfortunately, I think it's clearly obvious that this trade didn't work. We're probably gonna have, we're gonna have to bite 100% loss here on this option. I think we put about 150 bucks into it. It is the vulgarities of playing options. You have to understand that risk capital is your risk capital. We bought a December Apple option, so you know, same sort of logic as that Citigroup trade, looking for the market to break and come back down. We are into May. Tough to say. I mean, this guy may break higher. TRISOF principle just simply said if we come back to a 50% level, we'll make about a 300% gain on our money invested. And so I'm willing to live with those numbers. Let's see what happens. As for the short term, it sure looks to me like he's sort of caught in a trading range, kind of like the Citigroup, right? We'll know that this thing's broken in earnest when we start actually putting in some structural fail levels. I don't really have anything solid here yet. Wouldn't be a pound the table kind of idea. So big hum-ha, really nothing to get excited about there. We're starting a brand new trading week. Probably want to just let the market breathe, let it sort of fill out a little bit. Point its hand either bull or bear to you know, help us hunt trade setups and locations. But I'll keep a close eye and we'll review this through the day. All right, off to Bitcoin. Bitcoin tastes great. I think, you know, the simple message I think has to be that, hey, we had one hell of a rip-roaring rally, right? Enjoy it. I mean, fuck, it was a hell of a move. You know, if I use Phoenix, for example, and I just draw a simple fib off of the highs, back down to, and we'll even maybe just go off of that kilo because that's the market structure there. I mean, you can see where the reload zone is. it's pretty obvious where quote unquote the smart money is long, right? This was all this distribution about the ETF, and then the market goes zooming up. And you can see on the profile, just not a lot of new buyers came in here. They were pushing price up, and it's kind of funny because if we pop on over, just to give you kind of a funny perspective of the market, if we pop on over to something like, where the hell do I have that? I think I have it over here. We'll have to go like this, and let's see what happens. Boom. And there we go. We're back over here. And where the hell is it? I mean, I thought when I saw this morning, it almost made me laugh. But it just goes to show that just the staggering manipulation of the market. If we look at something like GBTC, well, it turns out this thing, I didn't know whether you guys are aware, but Bitcoin's trading over $5,000 a coin. Which I find hilarious, right? And even now, they're praising Bitcoins on this damn Bitcoin investment trust here at $4,130 a coin. Literally, that's basically twice what the current market price for Bitcoins is. I don't know how the hell they get away with this. The chart looks like fucking Swiss cheese, right? So, could we have some time where this thing backfills? But the irony of it all is the backfill down to 2,000 just to clean this chart up. Well, that's just basically where spot prices are now. So does that mean that this thing has to come down and spot prices stay the same as the ETF on the bigger exchanges gets listed? Or does this thing keep its premium, which is now trading literally twice the price of what Bitcoins are? And does this thing, does Bitcoin have to trend lower and this thing holds on to its premium? I find this fascinating. And frankly speaking, talk about students of the market. I can't believe that they can actually get away with this. And can you actually translate this GBTC into actual Bitcoins? Like buy this? Or, I guess you'd want to sell this. Go buy your Bitcoins on Stamp or Phoenix or whatever. I guess you couldn't do it on Phoenix. But go buy your Bitcoins on Stamp and then go short this and then deliver the Bitcoins against this short position. I'm not quite sure how you do that. I'm sure there's probably some way to do it. But I just found that fascinating. I saw that this morning. And it just shows how absolutely sort of disconnected, how euphoric this market is. And could we use maybe just a bit of time to clean all this up? I think so. I really do, guys. So, the interesting thing, though, is that the market hasn't technically broken down yet. If we go back to our good old weekly price chart, all we've done is just made a big ass, and the interesting thing is it's not even a doji, so we can't even call that a shooting star from last week. We just finished basically at the 200% extension level. We are now, wicks and tails like to be eaten. We are now heading into the wick, and I've noticed this happens a lot on altcoins. If I've missed my sell half on a double level, they often shoot it higher than that. But if I've missed that, sometimes it'll come up and just kiss that level again and just give me the opportunity to clean up my act. I did that on the Blitz yesterday. I'd missed one of my sell half on a double levels, and I was like, well, let's just get the order in there, and if we're lucky, there's some sort of dead cat bounce, and we rally back into that range and get a fill. So I think that we're still sort of, we're right out of the gate, and it's interesting how the close of that candle body, the open of that candle body, if we fail through here now, it's going to be one of those hard open close levels, right, like we see here. So let's see how this week develops. I mean, hell, I'm a Bitcoin bull. I would like to see the bull continue. I don't want to see one of those hard open close reversals that we often see. I would say, though, very much like this kind of range, that because we've left such a big wick up here, I think the market has to go up and sort of park itself up in here and just sort of consolidate a bit up in this area. That's my hunch, but of course, you know what I think about opinions. So, on the weekly basis, have we actually broken down? Is this a top? Is Bitcoin a bear? No, there's nothing really that's indicating that this is the end. It's just, I think we got a little too far too fast, and we need to sort of clean things up a little bit here on the weekly charts. And frankly speaking, for us to actually want to see higher and higher prices down the road, you can't have this kind of move without some sort of back and forth. It's really important that you have the back and forth to sort of level out that overbought, oversoldness. So if anything, this action, I mean, we all want to just, Bitcoin moon straight away, but I would argue for this to be sustainable over time, this actually is I mean, I don't like this wick. I would have rather it been some nice solid candle bodies back and forth, but a consolidation here I think is a good thing. I know that sounds kind of weird. So I want to do, if we look at the lower time frames, what I'm seeing is, and especially if we go like these charts, I'm seeing trade locations now starting to jump out. So, if we look at the daily charts, we've got a nice short location up top here and a nice long location down against the ETF highs, which is so ironic, right? The ETF now actually, that peak actually now becomes support. And I think I've talked to you guys recently that I'm kind of thinking that $3,000 is the top end of our range up here, and $1,000 is the bottom end of our range, and $2,000 is pretty much your pivot. And I kind of think if we look at this chart right at the moment, we're basically just sitting in the upper half of that $2,000 price range. And until we resolve through this half of the range, really I would expect, range strategies to dominate. And then if we lose these lows, then that means we're going to be playing down in this range for a while. So while we are still in this range, right, we can sort of drill down to these lower time frame charts and just simply ask, if we are thinking about trading. Of course, there is that topping area. That's still very valid. We've got the institutional fingerprint up here. This is where they stop the bull. So those guys, them, it shouldn't surprise us that when they rallied the market back into that level, those guys, them, said, fuck you, get your ass back down there, and whacked it back down. And then notice too that when we do our little fibby fibs, what a coincidence, the reload zone just happens to line up nicely with that institutional fingerprint. And now we could even argue there's an institutional fingerprint right in through here. And you could even argue, notice how the low of that bar just happens to coincide nicely with the high of that bar, which kind of sucks, right? I mean, me personally, I don't really like this area. This is what I would consider no man's land. We're sort of trapped in the middle of nowhere here. We could very easily break up. We could very easily break down. Trade location wise, I do like there is the trend line, so we'll watch for bull divs off of this trend line. And also notice too, these are the candle bodies, right? There's a nice juicy tail. I could very easily see her dip into this reload zone, into this tail, into all these horizontal support and resistance levels that we've talked about at length, and look for some sort of reversal through here. Conversely, here is this uptrend line, right, and resistance, big stabs up into this area on a nice divergence against this high, against the institutional fingerprint. I can hunt shorts here. But as it stands right at the moment, I'm caught in no man's land. And so that's basically what I'm doing, is I'm just sitting on my hands. I know that's kind of tough, and you guys are probably really bored. By all means, if you have trading plans that work off of lower time frames, I find it extremely difficult to try and run the altcoin portfolio, to teach the school, to try and keep the website updated, and run setups off of lower time frames. It's just too much for me, guys. I'm sorry. I suppose as we go down the road, as we sort of build out our trading staff, we could probably dedicate people to trading lower time frame setups. But I've tried to do it in the past, and it just doesn't work. So I'm going to stick with the 6 market matrix. Lowest time frame we consider trade setups is off the 4 hour. And so with regard to Bitcoin, I'm just sort of stuck. And the same thing, I'll go through our 6 market matrix. We've committed to the plan, and if any trades set up in that window, there are the 6 markets, I'll be more than happy to report. Okay, so that hopefully gives you an idea of what I'm seeing in Bitcoin. It was interesting. This was the New York kill zone Monday morning this morning. They put in this little top here. You can definitely see we're just stuck in this trading range right now. It's interesting on the other side of that New York kill zone, basically there hasn't been a hell of a lot of follow through. And as well too, this is a, for level oneers, we'll get into this in particular because we just opened up the technical analysis module for the Monday class. You'll notice that we have, and this is a very simple RSI study, we have a very significant battle at the midpoint line of the RSI. So right now, Bitcoin itself is trying to figure out, do I want to be in bear mode below the 50 line, or do I want to be in bull mode above the 50 line? And I think that's the battle that's going on right now in the market. And that kind of makes sense, right? Because we're just sort of stuck right here in no man's land. I would like to see stabs up top, create a nice little divergence, sets up shorts, stabs down below on nice divergence, sets up longs. For the time being, it's a big hurry up and just cool your jets. Okay, the only other thing probably not a bad idea just to touch on with you guys is how Little Old Lady's been doing. We got off a huge win on Blitz yesterday, so I was pretty pleased at that as well. We've also changed the format of the blog posts. If I have multiple fills, then I'll post a number of fills on one blog. I find it a little easier to handle my day. If I see 5, 6 fills, it's just like, oh shit. So, I would love to hear your feedback, whether you find this agreeable, whether it works for you. This is in essence, this is probably actually just this image right here is a fantastic analogy of what we do, right? Where the assets that we're buying, it's boring, right? There's not a hell of a lot going on here. This thing's still looking heavy. I've been just basically in here nibbling. I've set up my sells. I've got basically the trade is just being managed. And it's kind of boring work, right? I mean, and that's a funny thing. I heard somebody in the lounge this morning saying, man, this is getting kind of boring. I must be doing it right or something like that, which I thought was just adorable. Because really the irony of it all is running a good business of trading. You're buying when other people aren't interested, and you're buying the assets that they're not interested in. And then, of course, on the flip side, and this is why I say this post is so beautiful, is that, this silly little coin, whoops, actually, that's the wrong link. Ah, fudge. I got to update that. I got to update that link. Sorry, guys. This is the image I wanted to show you. This is a perfect analogy of what I'd like to, and actually I started the Monday class off yesterday saying, this is what I want to teach you guys to do. And what's interesting, of course, is this asset's just zipping all over the place. Total chaos right now. Anybody coming to the market right now is, of course, listening to the hype and going, whoa, that sounds like a good investment. Not a bad idea. But we're fucking ringing the register, and multiple times, and we're doing it on multiple cars. This is like exactly what I want to teach you guys to do. And this, we could have this thing come back down to earth, clean up the gaps, reload zones, W's in momentum indicators, blah, 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 and we go strap on our third car. But if anything, I thought this was a great testament that, when they're yelling, we're selling. And I mean, it was kind of funny. I just missed a fucking next huge sell order there. I might have to wait 5 years to have that order filled. But I'm sitting there, and if they're going to take it higher, I'm more than happy to spoon feed them coins. I was kind of thinking, was this like a pump? Was this like one of those pump group pumps? I was really surprised at the violence of this move. And if anything, guys, this is a perfect analogy of why you got to have your open orders working. You just can't take the chance of coming to the party late and trying to get these fills. I mean, it kind of sucks that I missed that one, but this fill here, there's no bloody way you're going to get it unless you have that open order working. It's just that simple, guys. It sucks. So, you know, if anything, that's probably a great half an hour Monday morning start to your day. Really good analogy of how I look at the market and how I really want to sort of teach you guys to really take advantage of this stuff. I wouldn't be surprised. I can't say when, but I wouldn't be surprised that this silly thing has its day in the sun. And as I said, you know, basically people aren't interested, so I'm in there nibbling away. Okay, the last thing I wanted to touch on, because I thought it's just, you know, good courtesy for you guys, is I do see people coming in and asking if we can look at different coins in the daily brief. I do see a few people in here, you know, asking away. So we're getting good, you know, buy-in from people on the site. So we'll take a look at a few of your requests here before we send you on your way. I thought it was really interesting, before I move on, this little Bella bot just keeps working away here. This, if anything, has got to be, for you guys, a testament of patience and discipline in the market. You know, where basically I committed to the plan, said, all right, there's a nice little inside reversal, I'll take it. The 25 level fired off of here. Came right up against the stop level. They even fished against there. They couldn't find any sellers. And they've just literally parked it here for the past couple days. And there's just nothing to do until this level is really broken in my eyes. And, you know, basically I'm not doing anything. Just sitting here in the position. And alert said, if this thing fires, then I'll get out. But until that happens, don't do nothing. And really, you know, guys, if you're not in this trade and you see this inside bar fire, that's going to be a big buy signal for me. If this market can get up through that high, whatever that is a monster buy signal. And really, risk reward wise, that's a fucking awesome little risk reward. If that signal fires there, man, I think that's money. So there's something for you to chew on today, right? Keep an eye on that level. There it is there. So in essence, if the market can get up through this W consolidation here, this thing's off to the races. Do like, you can see the volume itself is accelerating here, so that's encouraging. Only time will tell, right? Interesting little one there. Okay, so some people asked me to take a look at a couple coins. I see that someone asked me to look at, Mustafa asked me to look at XLM. XLM. Boosh. We'll do it on Bitrex. Douche. And we'll do the Phil meal deal here. Okay, so quick summary. Monster breakout. You can see where you were supposed to be a buyer, right? Double bottoms, W's, all that kind of stuff. Can't chase it. Sell halves on doubles. Sell a third on a triple. Sell a quarter on a quadruple. Fuck, it looks like you could even have gotten a 10 bagger off on this thing. So clearly, this is the selling window. This is the profit taking window. This is what all these guys buying wanted to see. This story's, in my eyes, is over for now. It's done, right? I mean, this was the fucking payday. Cha-ching, ring that register. If anything now, and they often say too far, too fast, obviously this growth rate's not sustainable. Can't remember any, you know, asset that could continue growing 10x. So that's the party. Now we got to go through the cleanup. And if anything, you know, I really worried, and I warned, you know, our community months ago that there's no reason why through this trough they can't take a lot of these assets right back down to the original bottoms. There's no reason why they can't do that whatsoever. So, you know, we're coming into reload zone. You got this nice tail here. But, you know, this, again, you know, if we start getting moving average crosses here, OBV, where the hell are the buyers? Willie is just slowly working himself lower. You know, no real signs of W's or anything here. I mean, I certainly don't have any reason to be a buyer. And if anything, moving average sandwich, you can see the range that this thing could very easily play in for the next while. So there's just nothing for me to do here. All right. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news. But just giving you my 2 cents here. Someone asked to look at Cure. Cure, not bad. You know, right down at the bottom end of the range, you can see the pops. I would imagine probably a lot of our peeps reloaded through here. I think if I'm not mistaken, this didn't quite give a double. I seem to remember I got some free coins off. I must have been on this rally here. I don't know whether I bought this name back. I think I did buy, and I also bought some of that pink as well. This actually is kind of cool. Do you guys see the OBV is still rising here? So as long as we don't see the bulls just sort of disappear, I think the name is fine. And if anything seasonal, right? Notice this funny little tail down in here. Right, if you aren't in on this off of the lows, I'd be working my bid down against this tail in here. It's not a bad area to go fishing. So, you know, bottom end of the range. You know, you're not walking into a trap here, so that's good. Do really like that structural low. And notice there's that gap there. That's obviously a really important level in this thing. Right down off of this level. What is that? 3,700, 3,800, somewhere in that area there. Left a little bit of a gap up top here, so looks like it's going to be pretty heavy. There's a lot of distribution through here, and remember, this is probably what happened was, you know, was this one of these delistings off of Polo? They dumped it. There was probably guys that picked up this thing on the eventual pump. There was the rally back up, and it ran into a lot of selling. And so now there's a fair amount of resistance right up in this area here. So, you know, maybe you're probably going to be looking to be a buyer against this area, a seller against this area. And eventually down the road, when, you know, momentum and really, I mean, OBV's not ugly here, but it's not like trending massively like we have right in here, right? So when this stuff starts cleaning itself up and starts looking more WE-ish, that's probably when she's going to go. All right. CPC. CPC is interesting. I think people were in there doing some business on this thing recently. Yeah, not bad. I mean, you can see the back and forth. If you can just simply have the patience and discipline to work your bids against the low end of the range and have your orders working to sell halves on doubles, you can see the trades you can get off here. I do like the fact on CPC we actually have a confirmed bullish divergence here in MACD. But you can see there's not a real rush to be a buyer here. And this is kind of probably like this seasonal trough kind of thing. I could see this kind of just waning here for the next, you know, few weeks kind of idea. And, you know, stink bids against these lows, not a bad idea. Wicks and tails like to be eaten. You probably heard me say that a few times. So, you know, bids down in this area, respectable. It's not the end of the world. Yeah, that's about all I can say there. All right. Somebody asked me to look at Decred the other day, and actually I was really interested because Decred's kind of trying to put in a bot here, very much like the Bella. I thought this was interesting, you know, and you can just simply grab your reload zone. In fact, I thought I did this chart up here, maybe. Oh, actually, here's another one. There's another bot that's trying to set up. Isn't that cool? Hopefully you guys can see the similarities here. So we got 1 kilo, 2 kilos, 3 kilos, 4 kilos, 5 kilos. Jesus, this thing's getting damn heavy. 5 kilos? Brian being silly. You can see that, quite simply put, if we lose this level, she's going to tank down into here. All right, so trader's got to trade. It's not bad. I mean, if you can hunt little long setups here and if you can risk against this level, that's not bad risk. But you got to understand that this is a game of statistics. No guarantee this thing's going to work. But any sort of bullish resolution here, and if you're going to risk against a break of those lows, and you can, you know, stomach a full AB equals CD move, probably looking at something like boosh, boosh, Boosh. And we'll get rid of those. And I'll flip that around. What's that look like? Yeah, there we go. So, you know, hunt, kind of like the, and it's interesting. We have a few of these, eh? You got the Bata. Can everybody see the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kilos? I mean, fuck, man. This thing looks like it's getting ready to rock and roll. We got this DCR, same sort of thing. And I mean, look at this. If you hunted along in here, but you got to fucking respect these lows. If we lose these lows and crypto falls apart here, you better get the fuck out. But can you see that if you took a trade here and had the balls to ride it up to this ABCD target, that's an 8-to-1 risk reward. Fuck me. I mean, that's a trader's trade, right? So, you know, I don't have a problem hunting. You know, maybe drill down a lower time frame, see if you can find some W's to try and sneak your way in here. You know, you can see volumes trying to turn, momentum's trying to turn. No confirmed divergence here. Little bit of a divergence right in there. Willie's almost washed out, not quite. Really interesting. You know, there are some interesting markets trying to set up here. So keep our eyes peeled for that. All right, so there's sort of the breakdown of Decred. Let's see. Anything else we should take a look at? So Malcolm wants us to look at QTL. Boosh. Well, definitely come off its peaks, no doubt about that. Great analogy of fucking just buying against the low ends of the ranges, eh? So if you had the balls to do it in here, right? You had to take some heat for a while, but boom, you got paid. And of course, this dip here, brilliant, got paid. And it comes back down into these lows, boom, got paid. And here we are again, right? You got a little cute little dead cat bounce off of that. Very powerful little fast, very violent bullish divergence. That's played itself out now. Willie's kind of middle of the road, just sort of swimming. I do that now. This is interesting. Really watch the volume battle in here, because this will probably be our tell. If we actually see buyers step up here and this forms a W, then we know this thing's back on and good to go. And I kind of like the price action in here. Get a nice little confirmation of this W in here. I think I could be a buyer. And of course, you know, if we go zoobity zoo, right, and we go snappity, I have a P, I have an apple, apple pen. Oh, did that backwards. There we go. So, you know, I mean, just location-wise alone. And actually, you know what? This is okay, so I was wondering when this was going to happen. Everybody's got their journals out. And actually, we don't have that big of a crowd today. Only 27 people. Well, anyway, hope you guys are enjoying this. But what have I learned today? This is such a great... I see this all the fucking time. It's just absolutely incredible. Venture capital often will play with this reload zone where it'll actually lose the line in the sand, 78.6, but ultimately you'll see the market come back and literally recapture it as literally the bulls put in the final battle off of the line in the sand. So this is a fantastic analogy of that fight. And this is so typical venture capital. If anything, I often see this while we're working stink bids, you know, and we had one the other day, right? Remember, we said we were going to use this as a tutorial, where I think this thing is still, you know, trying to find a bottom here. And we said we were just going to sort of keep an eye on this over time. You can see the bullish divergence in MACD is trying desperately to come in here, but it hasn't come in yet. Right, so you gotta wait for it, and it's sort of, you know, there is the line in the sand for this guy, right? And you can see that it flirted with it. I'm thinking trade location down here. I wouldn't be surprised if this thing has to come back down and then put in the W off the line in the sand. We'll see how this thing plays out. But here is that process happening in glorious Technicolor. It's fucking awesome, man. So, for those that are like, well, Brian, I want to see a little more anecdotal evidence that this thing really has bottomed. Here's perfect example. You wait for your reload zone. You wait for the divergence to come in, right? You can now start hunting for structure. We can see a W starting to form here. And oh gee whiz, what a coincidence. That W is going to come in on a recapture of the 78.6 fib. So cliche. I mean, guys, seriously. And it'd be so cool to see that on a nice buying spike, which would confirm this W in OBV. That would be like, que bella. Anyway. Okay, so somebody asked me to take a look at QTL. That's my thoughts there. Really interesting looking little name. It's kind of like nibble worthy in my eyes, but it's not pound the table. If we break out through here and it comes on volume and W, then it officially goes into pound the table. Right? Turn those machines back on. Okay, what time is it? Well, that's about 45 minutes. I know Garrett likes us to keep it around 45 minutes. So why don't we leave it at that for today? We've given you some names to chew on. In fact, this QTL, very interesting little value name. Keep an eye on that. Giving you a couple bot ideas to chew on. We've got an ongoing tutorial going on this guy. And we've got some funny pictures in Bitcoin land to just highlight the insanity of this fucking market right now. So, okay, guys, you have yourselves an awesome rest of your day. All the best, and bye for now.